He is the director and owner of McDonald's law firm in Queensland in Australia.
The Indian diaspora has seized them, and I'd very much say our family and our story is very much the same. You know, it's the generations that start out doing what they've always known.
He was the youngest partner appointment in his firm's 135-year-old history.
My belief is that every person, every citizen has a responsibility to make our society better.
NewsX proudly presents the VaKu Diaspora Dialogue with Luckbir Singh. Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX VaKu with me, Megha Sharma, and joining me on the broadcast is a guest from Australia, Queensland. Luckbir Singh is a director and owner of McDonald's Law. It's good to have you, Luckbir. And
great to have you too.
My audiences are eager to hear about your story.
I'm looking forward to telling it.
Luckbir, how was the transition like? Are you a first generation Indian that has traveled from India in Australia, settled down for years, decades together, started off your own company? How has this entire journey been like?
Yeah, so my story is a little bit interesting. My great-great-grandfather came to Australia to cut sugar cane at about the 1900s, so 120-year connection with Australia. Part of that sort of first wave of Indians coming out of India to Australia. And then subsequently his father came, and then my father, with the post-change of the White Australia policy, became the first technical citizen. But our connection with Australia goes back a very long time.
Mm-hmm. How does it feel to be a third generation Indian Australian living in Queensland? I'm sure there have been a lot of changes, setting up a base, building about a legacy by your grandparents, by your ancestors. It would have been a much more difficult step than to be already starting off on an established base. What are the kind of challenges you have gone ahead and faced in starting up your own company, McDonald's Law? You are an attorney. How does this entire setup work, from being sugarcane farmers to coming into the picture when it comes to studying law, opening up your own firm and widening your horizons?
I think it's just like so many other stories of migrants, it's all about opportunity. And countries like Australia offer a huge opportunity, and the Indian diaspora has seized them. And I'd very much say our family and our story is very much the same. It's the generations that start out doing what they've always known, and then they aspire for their kids to do something more. So you go down a particular path of education, and then education opens up tremendous opportunities. So I joined McDonald's Law, which is a very old firm. It's 137 years now. And I started as an honorable clerk and was able to progress through the firm because it's very progressive and has a lot of opportunities available. We're based in the state of Queensland, top and tail, 2 office locations, top and end of the state. And I've just been able to make the most of those. And like I said, I think the opportunities that presented themselves, my family and others and so many other people that have come out subsequently have just grasped them and made the most of them. So I'm very fortuitous in that way.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a success story right there, and putting you on the pedestal when it comes to Indian Australians and the successful work that they're doing, the diaspora community across the globe, and particularly in the continent of Australia. I'd also like to ask you about the endeavors that you have taken up in terms of giving back to the community. I'm talking about the Australian community as well as the Indian Australian community. If you could talk to us more about it.
2 tracks. So one has been, I built a director career, so non-executive director on a few different boards. Primarily, they are now in the health space. So COVID has been a fascinating time to be involved in a health and hospital board. And that's been part of the psyche of our family, and I think the organizations have been involved in. It's all about giving back to the communities that you live in, you work in, and you want to make a long-term impact. And particularly the way I've gone into the health space in that non-executive director career has been amazing, because you can make long-term impacts. And health, as you know, is an area that matters for everyone in the community. So that's been one track. And then the other track has been giving back from a heritage point of view. So from an Indian diaspora point of view, from a Sikh diaspora point of view, Probably in my late 20s, I felt that there was a bit of a gap. I was talking to a friend of mine and we both said, look, we've done so much just in the general professional world and business world, but we haven't actually probably done as much from a Sikh and an Indian diaspora perspective. So we reached out to a few contacts in other parts of Australia, and that's the Young Sikh Professional Network, and then got involved with Australian Youth Dialogue. And so it's been amazing to connect with these tremendously talented individuals and trying to make an impact to the next generation that's coming through.
Do you also feel in the past decades or maybe 5 years, there has been a tectonic shift in the way the native community looks at Indian Australians? Have there been an increment in the number of Indians traveling overseas, especially in Australia, to build a life and career for themselves?
Very notable, absolutely notable. When I recall going to school, I don't really recall any other sort of brown people, if you want to describe it as that. And then, fast forward to my kids now who are in school and high school, and there's obviously a very diverse group coming through of people from lots of different countries, and also a lot of Indian diaspora individuals. So a huge shift. I think I'd say the most notable shift occurred late 90s and 2000s when large groups of students came to study in Australia, and those have now settled down and they've now got children. So they're starting to see their second generation emerge. So we've definitely seen that occurring. But the way I sort of look at it is there's just been a lot of great impact made by those that have come to Australia. You're starting to see them involved in all sectors and spaces, from the arts, the music scene, to being involved in obviously the traditional vocations, as well as business and the executive director land. And what I can also notice is that they're migrating outside of the big metros. So Sydney and Melbourne, where the larger waves first came, have now spread into places such as Queensland and Western Australia. Brisbane, Perth and other cities are seeing more and more, and they're going into regional cities. So you're definitely seeing that effect across the entire country.
Has that spillover also been in the policy sector when it comes to policy and bureaucracy? There have been quite a few Indian Australians that have, at this point of time, been at the forefront when it comes to politics. So is that a natural succession that the Indian Australians, keeping in mind with the plethora of opportunities that they have gotten, and also in terms of the seepage of the Indian Australians within the continent, it's going to be representation of them in politics and bureaucracy, an equally important and a natural progression?
Definitely seeing more and more aspirants to the political scene. Each of the elections that I see now, be it a local government level, a state government level, and a federal government level, you're seeing more of the seats being contested by people from an Indian diaspora background. And I suspect that'll continue to grow, particularly in those locations where there is a higher concentration. Then those issues that are important for those people need to be represented by members that they feel are truly reflective of them. I think also more generally in terms of the bureaucracy and generally in politics, those shifts are coming because Australia has been a very multicultural society. And over the last 30 or 40 years, that shift has occurred not only just in the Indian diaspora, but in all those other multicultural societies and nationalities. And you're seeing that that's transpiring into our politics and into all facets of Australian life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Luckbir Singh, for joining me on this special broadcast of VaKu. I wish you all the very best for all the future endeavors that you wish to achieve.
NewsX's ITV network have proudly launched the VaKu Diaspora Broadcasting Network.
VaKu DBN will be India's first mainstream platform dedicated to the diaspora community. Help support us. Become VaKu patrons at memboro.com/VaKu. You will get the first access to our interviews, make recommendations, merchandise access, ask questions, and get a shout out of thanks on our TV shows.
You can also suggest to us who should get the VaKu Golden Chakra Awards, and also tell us who should get into the VaKu Hall of Fame. Limited memberships are available at 100 rupees per month on Memboro VaKu.
Sign up now. Log on to memboro.com/VaKu.